So I've been thinking about the JMT over the past month, and I wanted to give a few of my impressions of it. So many of the YouTube videos out there, it's picture the JMT as a very romantic place. There's a doe and a fawn out in the meadow, and it's just so pretty. Or it's a 22-year-old JMT set to rock music. Um, I thought it was pretty rough. I've hiked past 20 years. We've hiked in Canada. We've hiked up in the Rockies, and not lightweight stuff. And I thought it was the hardest hiking I've ever done. Every day is a 4,000 foot climb. Every day is that kind of climb at super high altitude. You're talking 10 to 13,000 feet, usually carrying what amounts to about a week's worth of food. Uh, um, and it's not always a very pleasant place. Hello, can I help you? You're so cute. Eleanor's. So I would say from about Mount Whitney to the Golden Staircase, man, it's just brutal. And day after day of that will just wear you down. Number two on my list is the JMT is very desolate. I've heard it said that the JMT is the longest uninterrupted trail in the 48 states, and that there's no road that goes through it. On all other parts of the PCT, the AT, there's lots of roads that in towns you pass through, but you're looking at 200 miles where there's nothing. Now, it's in a big valley, so you're walking in the valley, and on either side are 3, 4, 5,000 foot peaks to get out of that. So it's not like you can just head right and walk down to the road. That doesn't exist. So if you get hurt, you're kind of on your own. A lot of times it may be a 2 or 3 day walk to get back to a town or the road. So my wife and I talked about this a few times. There was several points where you go, man, you don't want to get hurt here, because it would be like a 2 day walk, 2 to 3 days. So you go back to the last turnoff, and then you're going to take a pass that's probably 3,000 feet. And then you go down that pass to try to find the trailhead. Now it's probably 20 miles from the trailhead down to a highway, and it may be another 20 miles from the highway to a town. And then if you're going to try to get back to your car or what, so you can see it's a long way. We ran across a lady who just had really bad blisters, and I told this in one of my videos, but she was in this quandary. What do I do? And our best advice was, well, you have to turn around. You'd have to walk down to the Bishop Pass trailhead, which was a day walk, just to get to the turnoff. Then you have to go over Bishop Pass. That's another day. That's about 20 miles to get back to from the turnoff to the trailhead. Then it's 20 miles from the trailhead to the main road, which is out in the middle of the desert. And then another 20 miles to a dock. So you can see you got to be ready to handle things yourself. So come prepared. If you get blisters easily, think how you would take care of that blister without having to hike out. It's a way that you could finish the trail. Sandals, different shoes, something. You got to come up with a plan on how you're going to hike hurt. One of our friends tells this story of a lady who thought she couldn't hike out, and the ranger was called, and the ranger gave her two options. One was a $15,000 helicopter ride, which the lady didn't like, and the other was a $1,500 horseback ride. So she chose the horseback ride. So a cowboy was called, and he rode all the way out to where she was and loaded up her backpack and her on his horse. They didn't bring a separate horse, and then rode back to his corral, not back to town, to his corral. And she was telling how the cowboy made the lady wash the horse down, because the horse did carry her all that way. So it was a kind of a good karma thing. But that's where you have to go. You got to be ready to deal with things like sprained ankles, hurt knees. What if you trip and fall? It's a long way. My next point is the High Sierra weather can change so quickly. Don't think it's going to be sunny out there. It could be sunny up until about 2 o'clock, and then just pour from 2 to 4 or 2 to 5. Maybe it might rain all day. I don't know. But when you're out there and it's starting to pour, what are your options? You can't just turn around and go back to where you just can't pitch your tent and stay there for the day waiting for it to get sunny. You have to be ready with full rain gear, however you like to do that. You've got to be ready for outright lightning, and it's very serious up on the just higher passes there. And what you never want to be is you never want to be up on a pass during a hard rain or when it starts to thunder. People do get killed by lightning there. I think there was at least a few people killed on Mount Whitney from that. So our point was to always try to be over the pass before noon. So in that we would go up about halfway up the pass the day before. So then we're left with like a 2,000 foot climb from our camp spot to the pass. So that we could do before noon. About 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock, boy, the weather can get foul. You start to hear thunder way off, and it's like you don't want to be up on a pass. So our point is to get down off the pass as quick as possible, and then go down into there's always a low point, and then to hike back up the next pass about one half the way up, and then camp there. So try to get over the passes as early as possible. Don't do it at 5 o'clock at night, or at 3 o'clock is probably the worst time. My next thought is that the JMT, again, is at very high altitudes. You're talking 10 to 13,000 feet. If you're not used to that, if you don't know you can do 11, 12,000 feet well, you might want to test that out on a short day hike or a single overnight hike where you just go back to your car if you just can't do it. I was watching a YouTube video called Backbone. It's about a guy who walked the CDT, and he had super hard times with altitude at night. Usually people during the day can do altitude okay, you're a little short of breath, just keep on going. There's something that goes on at night, and man, it is really serious if you're that person that gets hit with it. Some people can't breathe, some people feel like they'll start to cough. I'll go over a second video of my experience with altitude. But it's the real deal. So if you've never slept at 11,000 feet, you might want to find out if you can do that okay before you're 3 or 4 days from getting back to road. The general advice is to hike to a lower altitude. There is no lower altitude. 9,500 feet might be the lowest altitude around you for days. A truly low altitude may be 2 or 3 days walking to get down to 6,000, 5,000 feet where you might truly find relief. So check that out before you go. We came across a girl who had symptoms of just high altitude mountain sickness, nausea, headaches, that kind of thing. The ranger station was like a mile away, and this girl was in a group of like 5 or 6 people. So they walked up to the ranger station, and we were in back of them, and they found the ranger, and they told the story. And then my wife and I went, well, the ranger will take care of her. So we walked up the trail a bit more, and then we saw the ranger about 10 minutes later, and we go, so what do you think about that girl? And he goes, well, I hope she gets better. What? I thought he was going to go down there with a med kit and all that. Nope. So you're kind of, unless you're ready to take a chopper flight, you're not going to get a whole lot of hand holding. If you hike from the south going north, you have to be really good at altitude quickly. You're going to be hitting Mount Whitney like day 2. And then it just gets worse from there. If you're going to hike from Happy Isles going south, that can be an easier transition because you're going to go from 6,000 feet to 7 to 8. So it is easier, but really day 3 you could be sleeping at 10,000 feet on the backside of Donahue Pass, and that's pretty high. Stream crossings can either be totally benign or life-threatening. It depends what time of day even. So if you're going to cross deep streams, do it always in the morning, first thing. That's where you camp, right by a deep stream. So as soon as you get up, you cross it. There could be sometimes a foot difference between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. There was a lady who actually died on the South Fork of the Kings River last year. So it's serious stuff. When we crossed places like Bear Creek and Evolution Creek, they were pretty tamed at that point. But I can see you get out there 20 feet and the water's raging, and it can be serious. So a take-home point on that is that if you don't feel comfortable, there should be something in your spirit that's telling you that there's danger. If you don't feel comfortable, if you're alone, wait for somebody else to come by. Don't cross it by yourself. The lady who died crossed it by herself, and no one was there to witness it. So it was like 2 weeks before they found her. So it's good to hike with friends, but if you're by yourself, and that's fine, just wait. It's only going to be 10 or 15 minutes max before somebody comes along. And either they're coming the opposite way so you can watch how they cross, if they're stronger, bigger than you. This lady who died was probably 5'2", 5'1". So it's a serious consideration of how you're going to do that. And the tough part on that is, boy, sometimes you got to be ready to turn around and go 2-3 days back to where you started from. Oh man, that would be hard. That would be hard to suck that down. If you resupply at Muir Trail Ranch, don't expect much beyond your bucket and maybe to fill up your water bottle. They're not going to give you anything else. There won't be time to charge anything. You're only going to be there maybe 30 minutes and then have to go out again. So take that into consideration. I thought I might at least be there an hour or two to get more on my charge for my battery pack, but no. A good thought is to carry all of your medications and then some. If you're someone who's prone to, say, urinary tract infections, then take some of that. If it's going to be painful for you to exist for 2 to 3 days while you hike out to get to a doctor, that might be something you want to go to your doctor and talk to about what you can take for nausea or diarrhea or that kind of thing. I would say that most people can do the trail in 21 days or less. Some people can do it in 2 weeks. It just depends. But whatever time frame you think, maybe add 20% to the time, because what usually happens is that you're so pounded that when you actually get to a town to take a zero, you take 2 zeros or 3. That's where it kind of does add up. Plan on burning about 20 to 30% more calories than you think you would. Most people will lose 5 or 10 pounds during the entire hike. So say they lose about 1/2 pound per day. If a pound is 3,500 calories and you're losing about 1/2 pound, then it would take about 6,000 calories a day to keep you steady. And that's tough to eat that much, and it's tough to eat that much if it's not all made of candy too. So it ends up being that you're going to lose weight. Good idea might be to walk in the door with a few extra pounds. All this being said, there were lots of 22-year-old girls who seemed to breeze right through it. They either have a magnificent metabolic reserve that can dish out that much work, that many calories, and still have tons to burn. That works good for 22-year-olds. For 60-somethings, not so much. So I mean, it is a hard hiking, and if you feel like you're not sure that you can do that, you might want to try sections of it first. In conclusion, I'm glad I did the JMT. I don't think I'll do it again. There's lots of other hikes I want to do. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane once. I'm glad I did it. I don't think I'll do it again. If you're fairly fit, if you're realistic about how fast you can go, if you're realistic about the weather and the climate and the temperatures and the altitude, then it shouldn't be a big deal. Just take your time. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this helps, and I'll see you later. The ranger was called, and the ranger gave the lady 2 different choices. One was a $15,000. Ellie, go.